Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to the Total Innovation Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Simon Hill. Our guest today is a true inspiration, and the reason why I love waking up every morning to do the work that I have the privilege of doing at Wazoku. I'm not going to say too much about him, as he will do a far better job of introducing himself. His day job is as an intensive care consultant at Newham University Hospital NHS Trust. He is a senior lecturer at Queen Mary University of London, a medical writer, and for over 17 years, a highly successful innovator within the innocentive Wazoku solver ecosystem. We came to know each other over the past few months, and I was inspired by his passion, energy, and dedication to this aspect of his life, which blends his passions, his experiences in both his professional life and his personal life, his natural curiosity, and more, to deliver impact to the world in a broad range of different disciplines. This episode is a treasure trove of insights from a highly successful solver from our global community, with real-world examples of the things that have inspired a number of different solutions. His approaches, how family life, curiosity, and professional life blend, and so much more. At the end of the episode, there's also some breaking news of a joint project that Juan and I are working on, so listen and enjoy. With that, I am delighted to welcome to the podcast, Juan Martin. Welcome.
Hi, Simon. It's a pleasure to be here with you in such a great space.
Well, the pleasure is all mine, Juan. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
So I can say that I'm a humble doctor born in Spain, going to school with not a remarkable curriculum at the beginning, but well, indeed, when I finished medicine, I wasn't one of the best ones in my class. Indeed, I didn't pass the exam, so I choose the specialty by love, I would say, because I went to Madrid to Ramón y Cajal Hospital just because it was close to the place where my wife had been awarded in a university to do a PhD and to teach as a special award. So it was just to sacrifice my life for the person that I loved and I wanted to be with. So this biochemical pathologist specialty was the beginning into research. I was not very motivated on the specialty, but it opened my eyes to a lot more. Then with the years, that specialty gave me the time to study an MBA, to do my PhD. Suddenly I became the youngest doctor in the country of leading a hospital and being a medical director of the greatest company of private hospitals in Spain. And one thing after the other, took me to decide if I wanted to continue in medical clinical practice or to continue in management. But crisis came to Spain, and together, my wife and me, she was already a teacher, we thought to take the chance of the adventure in the United Kingdom. So I started here, my life, and I start a new life as well with innovation and things here as an intensive care specialist in a little hospital, but great to start great things, as we will see.
Well, congratulations, and the dedicated husband piece and the moving into things to support the family is a theme actually that runs through much of the book that I wrote on many of the solvers in the crowd, the One Smart Crowd book. It's a common theme, right? People getting into work that was nearby for family reasons or other reasons, and then developing this hobby on the side. So can you talk a little bit about your early experiences of innocentive as it was back then, and getting into this hobby, you call it, of crowd solving, and crowd challenges, and maybe just that goes back 17 years, I think you told me now.
Yeah.
And again, that's not unusual. There's a lot of long-term long-term solvers in that crowd, and I'm always fascinated by, you know, the longevity, but also what got you started in the first place, and then what kept you coming back to play the game.
It's true, it's true. My first experience with Innocentive Wazoku, at the time called Innocentive, yeah, it was around 17 years ago when there was a challenge to design a platform or somehow to remove wounded soldiers from the front line. And I came up with a sliding platform integrated into a bulletproof vest to evacuate these wounded soldiers, and it could be incorporated in every soldier's equipment, although I'm not sure if it was ever developed into a real product. But well, I really enjoyed, and since then, I've been creating things as a hobby, always dreamed of a job where I would be paid just for my ideas. And that's exactly what Wazoku represented in my life. But those were the days of a young biochemical pathologist inspired by our Nobel Prize winner, Ramonica Hall. And in the front entrance of my hospital, you could read, and every day you could read, any man could, if he were so inclined, be the sculptor of his own brain. And this is what I did.
That's what I said in my intro, right? That blending of natural curiosity, professional life, and personal interests coming together, I guess, with, you know, with that beautiful quote as well. So you got involved early on. Was it early successes that inspired you to continue, or what's the story around, you know, giving it a go to being here 17 years later?
Well, my wife always says, I know, you are going to win because your idea is the best. Well, that's my confidence. I do have a lot of confidence in myself. When I take one challenge, I give it my all, crafting my idea so thoroughly that it's hard to say no to it. The first time I ever submitted something, we were newly married and she had no idea about this side of me. Well, honestly, I didn't know much about it either. I spent days writing, completely immersed in the process, to the point that she got frustrated with me for neglecting everything else. I was so caught up in perfecting my entry that I submitted it at the very last minute. 3 months later, I got a call telling me that I had to attend to the final ceremony award. I told them that I couldn't make it because my wife was at university teaching with her classes and I was home with our baby. To my surprise, they insisted that it was so important that they offered to babysit. And when I told my wife, she was skeptical. She didn't think I had much of a chance to win anything, but she agreed to come with me anyway. As soon as we stepped into the amphitheater, that was the place where the reception was happening, was packed with hundreds of people, and I was shocked, to be honest. My wife is standing behind me and whispered, "If you drag me here all the way for nothing, I swear I kill you." Then they handed me a check for several thousands, and that was the moment she decided that if this innovation thing was a way to make money, she was not going to complain about my strange hobbies anymore.
Uh, Wonderful. Yeah, you go. Money helps, eh? I think
Yeah.
also probably seeing the smile on your face and the light in your eyes at that moment, that it was effort that was worthwhile for a variety of reasons, was a part of that as well. It was interesting
Mhm.
actually in writing the book and later speaking to a lot of people that, you know, the money's a nice output. Not everybody was driven just by the money, and I think it's true for you to a degree. It's a nice recognition for the work that you do, but really getting into those problems is just as much a part of the intrigue and the game for you. I think as well, right? In preparing for the podcast, which, you know, listeners hopefully are not surprised that I do, we discussed a number of different threads, and I really loved your stories around the different challenges you've entered and won, many of them as we'll see. And I wanted to get those out in the world as an inspiration for other people, right? Lots of solvers come and they feel like they want to know more about what is it that others are doing, how are they being successful, what do those successes look like. I would say also that your early experiences, and I don't know if you've improved on this personally or not, of getting your idea in at the last minute is not uncommon. I think we get about 90% of our submissions in the last 48 hours of a challenge. Typically it's getting better. I don't know if you're getting better or not, but you can save that insight maybe. But let's start with one of these stories, right? And the rest of the podcast is going to try and tease out some of these different examples of how you have gone about picking the challenges that you've got involved with, and then being successful in many of them. So let's start with how Enzo Ferrari and a casual trip to Boots helped to inspire a dental innovation.
It's true, it's true. Well, sometimes I don't have the solution to a challenge right away. However, there is an internal drive that pushes me to read, write, and explore the topic until suddenly the idea reveals itself. It's not about money. I mean, it attracts, but as Enzo Ferrari famously said, "Se puoi sognarlo, puoi farlo." If you can dream it, you can do it. And that was exactly the case when a dentistry company sought a way to detect when a disinfectant was losing its effectiveness. And it occurred to me that the electric charge of the cell membrane could alter the disinfectant polarity. And as a biochemist, I knew about a property called solvatochromism, which causes a color change in response to a polarity shift, an ideal indicator for the problem that we were having at hand. So the amusing part of this invention was that it started during a casual trip to Boots with my wife. She was just picking out her dye, and I grabbed some things along with a variety of other substances to experiment with it. And that night, my kitchen transformed into a laboratory where suddenly I came up with the solution. I often think about my chemistry teacher, Don José Ignacio Dupla, from my school, Monterrey, in Spain. I wasn't the best student at that time, but he believed in me, perhaps even more than I believed in myself. Through his passion for chemistry, he opened my eyes to a different kind of intelligence. I can still recite the periodic table as if it were imprinted on my retina. One that changed the way I saw the world. I always thought that perseverance is a virtue of the less brilliant, and I'm very perseverant and stubborn. It's a characteristic of the people of my region in Spain, Aragon. We're like that.
I think you're also brilliant as well, Juan, from my personal experiences. The you mentioned in that story there, your trip to Boots, and I think actually the Enzo Ferrari quote maybe should be the title. I'm not going to try my Italian pronunciation of that quote, but I think if you can dream it, you can do it. Maybe should be the title of this podcast. So maybe we'll run with that. But you also mentioned, you're running around Boots, picking up all these different things while your wife's buying some hair dye or whatever else you were taken out for actually buying. And I was fascinated in our various discussions about how your kitchen always seems to be your laboratory. And whilst I may think twice about coming over for dinner at your house, research does show that switching off and making our mind think in different ways is essential for creativity and problem solving. Archimedes, as the story goes, has had his moments in the bathtub, his eureka moments. So maybe you can share some examples of that. And I think there's one around how baking croissants led to your potential eureka moments.
Yeah. Well, my kitchen has often doubled as my laboratory. My Thermomix, which is a German blender that I use as mixer or, for any purpose of this type. And the air fryer served me at that moment as my makeshift oven for molding experiments. And that's how I stumbled upon a material made from cellulose and albumin. The challenge required a material resistant to both oil and water, and by pure accident, I found the most amazing solution. It was like Fleming discovering penicillin. I was just baking some empanadas at the time, and as you do with the croissants as well, when I cook them, you brush the tops with egg yolk for a glossy finish. And that's when I noticed its impermeability. So intrigued, I immediately blended some A4 sheets with water in the Thermomix to create a cellulose base and experimented with yolks. So the result was a material that oddly reminded me of bone, an incredible discovery, though I still don't know if its full market potential. I didn't win the original challenge, but I believed in the idea enough to sell it to someone else. I will have to do like Spencer Silver, this inventor of the post-its, when he discovered the adhesives in form of microspheres, and he didn't know what to use that idea for. And in the company, he was called Mr. Persistent because for years he used to ask any new member coming to the company to see if they could come up with an idea. Until one day he met Art Fry, who, while practicing with his church choir, he realized that those posits would not fall out of the partitures when they were playing in the music. So, well, brilliant idea. Two guys crushing and finding a solution that everyone uses.
Yeah, I love this story, and as you and I have been discussing, I increasingly want the Wazoku offering to help to support not just the acceleration of discoveries for the specific challenges we run, but also to help accelerate those great ideas that maybe don't go forward in that specific challenge, or are not exclusively taken forward, to accelerate their impact into the world. So we'll get another Mr. Persistent story for Juan Martin one day as well, in collaboration. It's the nature of many innovation projects that the idea is often quite far away, maybe in time and often in eventual outcome, from the final solution, right? The final product often doesn't resemble the initial idea, and it feels like it takes years and years to deliver, in many cases, more than decades. And so as a result, the spark of inspiration is often lost in the journey. This is a part of the data chain that we seek to reconnect at Wazoku. I think it's very important to understand where the spark came from and what happened to it. However, sometimes our ideas have impact in the here and now, sometimes in a really visceral way. And you have a very real life example of this, where saving the life of a patient was the inspiration for a novel solution to a complex problem. Can you talk a little about that, please?
Yeah, well, I can never forget that case. And well, there were times when I wasn't the first winner of a challenge, but I still believed that my idea had potential. And in one occasion, my team was awarded a small prize, almost as a way to keep us out of the competition. That was my feeling. And I suspected that by doing so, the company was securing some non exclusive rights just in case we decide to take the idea elsewhere. And this happened with an invention I developed with a team in which a new rodenticide was harmless to humans and animals was the challenge. Instead of following the conventional approach, I thought about an opposite mechanism of anticoagulation that is what is used for the rat poisons. And it came to my mind while treating a case involving a young boy who attempted suicide by ingesting rat poison. Fortunately, at that time I had studied the delayed effects of these toxins, and well, with an antidote, with a continuous infusion of vitamin K, I was able to save him. And he was lucky because his plan was almost successful. I remember that on a Friday, he told his mother he was going away for the weekend with his friends. And the next day, the friend called home to the just a call about homework, and his mother, surprised, asked him about the trip that we were going to have, only to realize that something was wrong. You know, mothers always know what's going on. So she immediately drove to the countryside house where she found her son unconscious under the bed, surrounded by packets of rat poison. So she brought me the packages with her to the hospital, which helped me to identify the toxin and start the right treatment. So it must be a massive dose what he took at that time, because we ran the antidote of vitamin K for almost 3 days to normalize his clotting. But that gave me this experience treating critical ill patients with severe anticoagulation issues. The eureka moment, this idea came natural to me. So that experience played a crucial role in shaping my rodenticide invention. So proof that sometimes life itself provides the most valuable insights to our world.
Yeah, look, and it's a really visceral, real world example, right? And as I said in my intro, you're a hero for the work that you do, but it's also those incredible lessons from those really visceral lived experiences, and thankfully this time with a very with a positive outcome, also could then translate across for for future impact in a very different area. Is as I said, this is why I love getting up in the morning and doing the work that I do. The next example I also love, and it's very playful. It's inspired by your kids, your lived experience, and your professional experience. It blends all of these beautifully to a wonderfully simple solution that was staring you right in the face. Let's talk about innovation in the context of the everyday.
Well, well, I often find solutions in my everyday environment, which is probably why I prefer tackling challenges related to medicine or healthcare. And in many cases, the answers are right in front of us. Just we just need someone to connect the dots. As an intensivist, I'm very familiar with placing chest drains for pleural effusions, a procedure that relies on ultrasound guidelines. And one day, that same piece of equipment that we normally use became the key to solving a completely different challenge. So this company, a baby formula company, was looking for a simple way to determine if a baby bottle had been properly mixed, free of undissolved milk chunks. And how could I not solve this? After all, I had prepared over 10,000 baby bottles in my life, making 5 or 6 every day for my 3 kids. If anyone had the experience, it was me, clearly. I had that know how. The day after the challenge was published, I picked up my daughter from school, and together we went to the local pound shop to buy a few baby bottles, some cheap milk, and a handful of other items for experimenting. And at 8 years old, my daughter, she was having a great time preparing bottles for a little science project. So the next day in my office, I tested different milk densities using the ultrasound machine, just as I would be doing when scanning my patients. And by leveraging the software's density calculation tools, I found the solution. So sometimes innovation is just about looking at familiar tools in a new way. It's like, a pile of rocks ceases to be a rock pile when somebody contemplates it with the idea of a cathedral in mind. As in The Little Prince, Saint Superi says, and I always remember that little uh, story of the Little Prince.
Exactly, and that segues us actually really nicely. As I said, I love um that anecdote that you shared there, because it does blend all of the different pieces, and something that you would have done every day, but in a slightly different way using those tools. And I don't think it's sometimes innovation is just about looking at familiar tools in a new way. I think it's a key part of the innovation acceleration journey that we need to do, right? A lot of the solutions exist, just we need to tilt our lens slightly to one side, or look slightly outside of the usual realm. And if I was to try and encapsulate in one sentence what the power of the crowd is, I think it's that, right? We have a group of people who see the world in a slightly different way. You aren't inhibited by perhaps the constraints that an organization might place on the thinking of its
Indeed.
employees, just through a lack of knowledge of what's actually happening on the inside can help you see things in a different way. So sort of segue that forward a little bit and maybe sort of lean into your Little Prince example a little bit as well. You and I share a passion for biomimicry. I'm not sure we've discussed it, but we do, where nature and innovation intersect. I've written newsletters on aspects of this in the architecture and design worlds, in material science, Velcro being a great example,
Right.
wind turbine blades modeled after humpback whales' fins with the bumpy edges leading to make them more efficient and quiet, etc., etc. Can you share an example of where this passion in biomimicry helped to inspire a specific outcome?
Yeah, just saying that is in front of us, biomimicry, nature, it's a passion of mine. Nature has so much to offer, especially the hidden world at the microscopic level. In one occasion, I remember that I found a solution for drug administration by mimicking the mechanism of Helicobacter pylori, an incredible bacteria that everyone knows because it causes peptic ulcers. And uh, these bacteria uses a grabbing mechanism to penetrate the gastric mucosa and causes these peptic ulcers. So it was similar to how hook and loop bio-inspired tissue adhesives mimic gecko feet, for example. So patients are a huge source of inspiration for me. In fact, I sometimes name my project after individuals. For example, I name a project after the prophet Habakkuk, whose in Hebrew means embrace. To me, the pathophysiological mechanism of certain monoclonal antibodies felt like a form of embrace for a challenge. I think it was for Novartis. To be honest, I honored him with this project, even though he may never know he was a wonderful patient when I served as a director on a hospital in Madrid, and he was the only person I met with that name, Habakkuk. But he was a bit old. He will never know that. Discovery was named on his name, and this project was on his honor.
Well, maybe someone in the world will listen to this, and if
Uh,
they're a family member or other, and realize how inspirational that person was to to something you were doing, and to you personally as well. It isn't always just about having the best ideas. And I like this topic that we delve into next, because the way you present yourself and your idea is critical to how it is received and interpreted. I frequently see ideas that I know are better than the words on the page, but they fail to shine in the way that they should. You could argue that that is unfair. In many ways, perhaps it is, but marketing, communication, and presentation matters. I judge on a number
mhm.
of innovation awards, and there are often very strict evaluation instructions for the judges. So often entries that fail to comply with the judging criteria lose precious marks that cost their submissions and ultimately their success. Though I suspect in many cases the data was there. It was just never provided, or not provided it very well or clearly. What are your thoughts on this in relation to marketing and finding the right approach from that?
Yeah, exactly. Finding the right marketing approach is crucial. I always strive to present my project as effectively as possible, paying attention to the presentation, wording, images, drawings, and even the name, colors, logo. Sometimes my ideas end up being so close to what the company's marketing department has designed that once I received a threatening letter from a very aggressive legal team for using a logo too similar to the brand that was proposing the challenge. And despite my apologies and clarification, saying that this was a project for the company, well, I had to remove everything from the website that I had created for them to present the project. Well, however, not all news are bad news. In fact, I end up winning, and And I had a patient with, I remember, with multiple sclerosis. And as the challenge progressed, I felt a strong urge to help her on this challenge. And I developed an app that could address her needs if she experienced a flared up. So the app integrated into her mobile phone and could diagnose a multiple sclerosis outbreak at the very first sign, whether it was changing her sight, speech, or even her typing patterns in the mobile phone. So the judges like it very much, and well, maybe it's helping them. So I hope this software is helping multiple sclerosis patients today, and just like it helped me, my patient.
It's an incredible example. I also know from personal experience your propensity for spinning up websites with similar branding on them to someone else's thing, but we'll leave that story for another day. Hey? To wind things up, I wanted to talk about teamwork. Creativity and innovation is amplified by high-performing teams. With the advent of the age of generative AI, deep research capabilities, and agentic research assistants, these add another dimension to this teamwork concept. In my opinion, too few of the submissions we get in from the crowd involve teams. However, with AI, with AI, there are more individual plus AI assisted ideas. And this is also helping in the point above around marketing and presentation of the idea too. That doesn't mean AI does the writing, but it can help, especially where English isn't a first language, as is the case with a majority of our global Solver community, including yourself, I guess, although your English is exceptional. Research from Harvard this week showed that high-performing teams of generalists plus AI outperform individuals or specialist teams without AI. So generalists with AI outperforming specialists, individuals or teams without AI by a significant factor. Can you share your experiences and thoughts on teamwork, including the role that AI as a team member has for you in your work and problem solving?
Well, I mean, Wazoku promotes to use AI, and I do certainly use not only ChatGPT. I have my screen full of this helping ads. So I find challenging to assemble the right team, and often I end up working solo. Uh, just the reason could be that the teams need to share the same passion, effort, and commitment that you put in, which sometimes can be difficult to find. However, I was fortunate to create a fantastic solution with a team when we collaborated with medical students on a project for Novo Nordisk, which led to creation of a name called Carpe Diem, the M for diabetes mellitus, and the people assume that inventors work alone, but true innovation cannot thrive without empathy, leadership, and the collaboration of diverse minds. Even ideas that may seem trivial at first can lead to breakthroughs. This is why I share my invention, for example, with my kids or my father, that is an engineer. They may initially call me crazy, but later they'll come back with me to me with suggestions, asking, "Hey, Daddy, have you tried this or that?" Or sometimes their input brings me closer to a solution. Indeed, you name Archimedes at the beginning, and that's how I came up with an idea when my son told me, "Hey, why don't you immerse this patient into a bathtub that in which the water can act as a conductor for the impedantiometry?" Well, that was another challenge that I'm in the process now. So it's not wrong to seek answers from others. In fact, this is what large companies do with platforms like Wazoku. It's like NASA turning to my little daughter for a solution. And well, I think that Wazoku does the same with, okay, sending a challenge to the whole world of different minds, and I met great inventors into the crowd that you created, and even there is a group that you created in LinkedIn where I met great inventors from amazing places. Incredible that they may not be engineers or super qualified people, and they come up with brilliant ideas.
Yeah, it's still a nut I want to crack further though, this how do we bring people together? And I think the point you made in there around passion, effort, and commitments, there's something in that to think about, right? People work in different styles, and not everybody is, without a sort of team lead in there, can it always work? But there's more strength in the network of individuals rather than just solo practitioners. As I said, we get some, but I would like it to be more. I think we'll drive more. Linked to this topic of teamwork, and I teased this at the start, we're currently involved in an exciting project in the UK. Would you like to share a little bit more information with the audience about what this is?
Well, that's a beautiful project. That is the project that brought me to you. To be honest, one of your team members saw the idea that I was having in mind, and well, he said, "Well, my CEO has to hear this." But everything has started when, almost by accident, in a workshop of research, I met Professor Matt Belgard from the University of East London, who was just we were just brainstorming things, monetizing research and challenges. And a few days later, I dropped him a few slides with a very simple name that came to my mind as University of East London as Illumination, just changing those initials into the name, as we were saying, for marketing. And then he called me and said, "Well, can I use your idea?" I said, "Well, of course, but we need a platform to develop this." So I explored the market and I thought, what am I looking for? I have it in front of me. I know Wazoku for years, and they're great with the platform to run these challenges. So we could enhance innovation, bringing companies to the students of the university to solve this challenge and to create an ecosystem and an academy of innovation. And you already had in mind that when I proposed to you. So it was just matching all the constellations together, from big companies, Wazoku, with the University of East London, into a big project that, well, I'm looking forward to see real life soon.
Yeah, I'm very excited too, and watch this space, listeners, for what that comes. I think within that there is a number of messages. One being, I'm very open to great ideas from the crowd. I love the people that work,
Certainly.
work on your own dime, on your own time, on the types of things that we do. But I love even more meeting people like you, Juan. And today's been an inspiration for me as well. So keep looking out for the Illumination projects launching later this year. Anyone who has similar ideas or similar concepts, they want to bring them forward to me, please feel free to do so. As Juan's shown, I'm receptive to these things, and we have a few things that we're working on together, right, at the moment as well.
Right.
So thank you very much for your time. I know you're very busy saving lives, being helpful to the world, and working on your hobby on the side, plus these new exciting projects as well. So thank you for sharing these stories. They're really important, and I'm sure they'll help a number of others to drive impact and drive value as well alongside your successes.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure, Simon, and possibly a lot of doctors in the world will see this and will join the Wazoku crowd to solve all these challenges at hand.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so, and have some fun along the way as well. So thank you very much, Juan. Thank you, everybody, for listening. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. It's been a slightly different one than some of the ones that we have done, but super inspiring from my perspective. As always, if you've enjoyed it, please give us a like. Please hit subscribe. There's a number of other exciting episodes that are coming shortly, and a number that you've missed as well. This second season has been really inspiring from my perspective, building on the foundations of season one. Thank you everyone for listening, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode. Goodbye.